Welcome to Beach Life Unlocked with my colleague Michael Dotson, myself, Mitchell David. Today is our first episode, and we are going to be discussing buyer agency agreement. It's one of the newest things out that most buyers and agents should have a discussion with.
You know, this new world we're in with NAR settlement, you know, it's kind of forcing us to have that conversation earlier than we have been, right? So, you know, I think it's a crucial conversation to have. It's just at this point, it's become more difficult because as soon as you meet somebody, you're telling them, hey, you have to commit to me, and I'm going to commit to you today, right? Before I can show you this property. I mean, so for me, I mean, I think just getting over that hurdle and explaining to people exactly why this is important, right? I mean, because it is important for everyone.
Right. Well, I think you said the key thing. I think the key is we're actually having the conversation a lot sooner, and it makes it a bit awkward where before, you know, you and I both agree to this, we've discussed this many times, is, you know, look, we represent a buyer. We want the buyer to find the property. We don't want them to have to go over the hurdle of the commission conversation off the beginning.
Let's talk money from the jump.
Right. It just becomes confusing to them. And so what we're going to do today, or what I hope, is we've kind of picked out 4 or 5 items in the exclusive agency agreement that we're going to discuss in a bit of a detail and to help you out. We're not going to go line by line, page by page. This is something to kind of give you all a basic idea of what it is, and for Mike and I to kind of go back and forth from our experience, obviously doing it every day. Yesterday was the first time that I've ever encountered where they didn't offer the cooperation and we had to negotiate it into the transaction. That's the first time since October of 2024.
I think it is crucial. It's just, you know, the way we were doing it before, you know, we would meet somebody, tour properties, make sure we're going to be a good fit. Now it's almost like you want to see property, well, we're going to have to be a good fit or you're not seeing property, right? I mean, it's just, that's the way it is now, which, you know, it's made it interesting. You know, I mean, initially, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as we said, I think the key part is just letting the buyer know the components. So, for example, you know, one of the items is making sure there is a begin date and an end date to the exclusive agency agreement, right? So you can, because under Maryland law, we have to have a start date. Exactly. So, and it could be 1 day, it could be 1 year, right? Or anywhere in between. And I think, you know, obviously, you know, when we initially meet a client, I fill mine out. We've discussed this before. I fill mine out for 6 months. But the next provision in there, which you and I both have kind of talked about, is the termination. And kind of what's your thought on the termination clause in there?
So, I mean, obviously, everybody needs an out, right? Especially nowadays with, we're entering into this pretty much right after we meet, right? We might have that initial phone call where, okay, I'm coming to, you know, the buyer's coming to town, they want to see, you know, X, Y, and Z, we get that set up, but really the first face-to-face, we're saying, you know, you need to sign this, right? It may not be a good fit, right? So we need to have an out for the buyer and for us as well as the agent. And so, I mean, you know, you could do whatever you want, but, you know, for me, I just, if it's not going to be a good fit from the jump, I let the buyer out after 1 day, right?
Right. I think the key to this is what Mike just talked about is it's the 1 day written cancellation for a buyer. Obviously, this contract is new. In the sense that we're, you know, presenting it to you, you're signing it before you're looking at the properties. But rest assured, in there also is a spot for you to just terminate the contract. And I think that gives them some comfort level as well. Yeah. I do the same thing you do. The other thing though, with the 1 day cancellation though, in there that we would definitely want to highlight is there is a, not a termination, but a survival clause in there. Obviously, we've taken our time to meet them. They've made the visit, and then whatever properties we have shown, you know, we also have a survivation clause, which pretty much says, hey, listen, for an extended period of time, if you were to buy this property, you still owe us the commission through it. And what's your thoughts on that? Do you do it for a year? Do you have it for 60 days? What's your thought on that?
So I've been doing 90 days. Obviously, I think it's important to note that everything within the contract.
Great point. Right. Negotiable. Yeah.
It's all negotiable, right? If the buyer, you know, wants an out earlier, I think we can have that discussion, right? But we have to protect ourselves as well. And so if I'm taking my time to show you the property, we've met, we've toured the properties. You know, if you are going to buy that property, I do expect you to use me. As you know, we don't get paid unless the property sells.
Correct.
So a settlement occurs, we're working on commission, right? Where that's flat out. There's no hourly rate for us, to meet you and
which is a great segue to the next part, which is
Yeah.
super important, which is in the document. There's a couple of different ways to get compensation for an agent. One is a strict flat line commission. One is a flat fee, right? And then there's an other category. An other category could be, and obviously due to antitrust, we're not going to discuss what commission percentage we ask for, because again, it's negotiable, right? I mean, I think that's the biggest thing we all got out of this, is that everything in the exclusive buyer agency agreement.
It always has been.
Fair, good point.
I think it's important to point out it has always been negotiable. But at this point, we need to make sure that everyone's aware.
Correct. In the category, even if you charge a commission and your brokerage charges a flat fee, that has to be in there as well. So they're aware of what they're going to be paying the entire time. When you have that commission with that broker fee, that has to be included.
Right. All commission, all compensation up front is clear from the jump. Right. Now, if you want to get into how that works as far as a seller and their agent goes.
I think we discussed, we can get on tangents, and which we will, probably not in this episode, but there's so much more nuance to this. Right now, we just want you all to know, and I guess the one thing we should discuss is, let's say we have a number in mind. And the buyer agrees to that, but the cooperating brokerage and or seller is not offering that amount. Can we adjust that commission in the benefit of our client?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's all negotiable, and I think there's ways to work that, right, where the buyer's not putting out the full amount or any amount,
right?
Really. So. There are ways around that.
Right, I would say
through negotiation with a seller.
Right, and Mike and I've been doing this for a long time, and I think for both of us, besides the two times that we've had,
no direct
offering for us. 99.9% is the seller has an incentive for a buyer to buy, which would come in form of a commission. That still has not changed to this day. That's predominantly how it's done. Not to say that's how the future is going to be, but again, this video right now for us, our conversation for you all is to let you know that percentage that we're going to be requesting from you is offset by what the seller is offering, and those numbers are negotiable. I think that's a super important portion. I don't want to gloss over it, but I don't want to spend too much time now on it. But again, something we should definitely have that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. Let me ask you this: what do you think? Why do you think it's important to have the exclusive agency agreement?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what people don't really know, especially in Maryland, is we're fiduciaries. And so when that property gets listed and it's advertised on the market, that listing agent works strictly for the seller. They don't work for the buyer.
Right.
They can't, there's confidentiality agreements there. They can't share that type of information with the potential buyer. If they are, they're in breach of their fiduciary.
Right.
And I'm a firm believer. We've discussed this numerous times. I own properties. I use an agent when I go to sell my properties, because I still want that extra layer of protection for me. And so I think what buyers really need to think through is, why is this important? It's because you are getting a professional, again, something else that we'll discuss on what that looks like, but you're getting a professional who does this every day, all day, on your side, and we're actually... Exclusively, yes. Who's your fiduciary, who can't share your confidential information on why you're buying the property either. So yeah, I think it's a great question. I'm glad you brought that up. Is yours the same kind of thought there?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Having somebody in any negotiation, somebody on your side working for you, right, to get you the best deal possible. If the seller has one, why not the buyer, right? So I think it's imperative that a buyer coming to the market, looking to buy, they may not know everything, how to negotiate, how to work through the entire process of buying a condo or a house, and having somebody who's here, who's local, who knows the market, and is able to work in your best interest and get you the best deal possible, right? And that's what the seller's doing. They're trying to get the best deal possible, so why not have somebody on your side?
Right, because we all get the phone calls of the buyer going, I only want to work with the listing agent.
Yeah.
Not realizing that listing agent, again, can't share any additional information that
And their job is to do the best thing they can for the seller and to make you pay as much as possible.
That's correct. And I think, again, that gets glossed over just in general in real estate, is that a listing agent isn't looking out for your best interest. They're trying to get the best deal for their seller. Terms and conditions bar none.
We don't have dual agency in Maryland, right? A listing agent cannot represent a buyer.
Right, we don't have dual agency in the sense of Delaware. Right, exactly. We have dual agency where we can be with the same brokerages.
True dual agency where one agent represents both
parties in the same transaction. Yep, exactly. So, obviously we've kind of gone through the buyer agency agreement. It's super important. It does make for an awkward conversation up front, but it's something that we have to do, because if you don't sign it, then we aren't working for you. We're actually sub-agents of then the listing brokerage. So we can't help you negotiate. We can't help you form an offer.
We're working in the best interest of the seller.
That's correct. That's correct. So that's kind of why this is brought up early on. If we can get it to you via email and DocuSign it and have the conversation over the phone, is kind of what our goal is in this. But just as a quick recap, and we'll have a bit of an opinion at the end. But make sure that on there you have the properties, that the type of property you're looking for, whether it be residential, right, condo, townhouse, in the area. Our expertise obviously is beach real estate. We do service all of Maryland and all of Delaware, or we specialize at the beach. So that would be part of it. A begin date and end date, right?
Termination clause.
Termination clause, super important. And again, this is super important because some agents, again, for antitrust things, some have longer than 1 day for a termination. So then you are bound to that person for X amount of time and giving them notice. So again, that's a super important clause that you need to take a look at. And then obviously commission, whether it's a flat fee, good compensation, whether the flat fee or the commission style, or a commission with a fee, or a flat fee with a broker fee. So again, all that has to be done. And we just talked about the survival. We didn't talk about the survival date clause. We did. So there you have that as well. So just as a parting thoughts to a potential buyer, any other advice?
I mean, just keep in mind it's in your best interest to have somebody in your corner fighting for you from the jump, right? Protecting your best interest.
Your money.
And your money.
We appreciate your time, and please come watch us on our other videos that we'll be providing to y'all. Thank you.
Any questions or want to discuss the process, give us a call. Feel free to drop us a line.
Yep, put it in the message box underneath on the chat, and we'll be happy to get back to you.
Check out BeachLifeOceanCity.com.
Thank you.